Good evening. It's a great Tuesday and good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever that you are watching this particular broadcast. Now, this is a newly introduced show right here on Ubuntu channel. This is what we are calling Ubuntu Debate. Now, on this program, we are bringing to you different people that get to discuss or debate different issues of national interest. When we talk of national interest, we are talking about national development. I am your host, Banda, and of course, to help me discuss today's topic, which is youth participation in key leadership roles or positions, I have my co-host, Himba Malambo. Himba, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Lance, and how are you doing?
I am doing fine, thanks.
How has been your day? Anything new?
Well, something new, I'm putting on a suit.
Oh, brilliant. It's fantastic. You look so wonderful. Good evening, viewers, wherever you're listening us from. It's nice to be with you on your Ubuntu channel. Please stay tuned as we bring you the best among the best programs we have. Over to you, Lance.
All right, so you will be able to participate on the program by simply sharing a view or a comment down the broadcast of this program. You can comment, share with us where you are watching this broadcast from, and do not only do that, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you like and follow our pages so that each and every time we are live, you get updated. So, like I said, we are bringing to you people of high caliber, people that are great sons of this nation to help us discuss youth participation in key leadership positions or roles. Of course, from the UPND, which is the ruling party, we have the National Youth Chairperson, that is none other than Gilbert Liswaniso. Mr. Liswaniso, good evening. All right, as we wait for Mr. Liswaniso, as well from the opposition, the major opposition party that we have in the country, the Patriotic Front, which is the former party or the former ruling party, we have Chanoda Ngwira to help us also on this panel to discuss different things and different matters as pertaining to youth participation in key leadership positions. Mr. Ngwira, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Lance, and good evening to the co-host. I'm doing quite well, though, of course, we are under a regime that has actually killed us economically, but we are trying to survive. Basically and generally, we're okay.
All right, thank you so much. Also on the panel, we have Auxiria Mwanza, who is the Secretary General for Generation Lead Zambia. This is a revolution movement. Auxiria, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Lance. Good evening, comrades. I'm okay today, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, great. Also on the panel, we also have Comrade Auxiria. Can you mute your mic? Thank you. All right, so also on the panel, we have with us James Banda, popularly known as Red Linso. He is a childcare worker as well as Nkhani Zanga director or My Stories director. Mr. Banda, good evening.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity. And hi to everybody on the panel. Hoping to have a very fruitful discussion.
All right, thank you so much. As advertised, we were supposed to have a Nalolo member of parliament from the Party for National Unity and Progress. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control, he is unable to be a part of us, as well as governance activist Maiko Zulu. He is unable to be with us this evening. But however, the program continues and we are glad that you are a part of this program. Remember, you you can share your view by leaving a comment on this particular broadcast. Now, to kickstart the program, as you have seen, youth participation in key leadership positions and roles. I would like our debatants, or maybe the panelists, to get in their own understanding. Let's first get to define who a youth is and what leadership is, and then from there we'll be able to move. I will start with the lady. Okay, you are lucky, Himba. You are not the lady, but anyway, let's get to Mr. Ngwira. Who is a youth and what is leadership according to you?
Well, what a great question. Anyway, I think leadership in the first place is, in simple terms, it's the ability or the capability to lead others, or the capability to be in front whilst others are following, if we are to define it in the Zambian setup. And well, a youth is a young man or woman that obviously is aged below 35 in terms of our international standards. But I think when it comes to Zambia, a youth is one who is able to breathe, one who is able to walk, and one who is able to actually comprehend situations regardless of age. And I think this is the reason why we have got youthful people at heart who are, being given employment and all that. So in the Zambian setup, a youth really is not looking at 35 and below, but I think a youth in Zambia might be defined as a person who is, energetic. So I think for now, let me put it that way.
Okay, a youth is somebody that is energetic, and in the Zambian setup, according to Mr. Ngwira, it doesn't go by age. As long as you have the energy, then you are a youth. Mr. Banda, do you agree with that sentiment, that a youth is anyone with energy?
Well, yeah, most definitely, because then energy could be energy in terms of creativity, which is the mind, and energy could be in terms of the physique that produces the energy depending on what work they're doing. And yes, a youth is someone who's between 18 and 35, and a leader. Any person between that age that I've mentioned, who is able to give guidance to a certain community or society, is called a leader.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Liswaniso, thank you for joining us again. I know internet is really a great thorn in the flesh, but however, we want to first understand leadership. What is leadership? And obviously, who is a youth? According to Mr. Ngwira, a youth is anyone who is energetic, especially in the Zambian setup, but universally a youth is below the age of 36. Let's get to hear it from you. Mr. Liswaniso, are you there? Okay, we seem to still be having internet challenges with the UPND National Youth Chairman. Let's get to the only lady on the panel. Auxiria, according to you, who is a leader, or how do you define leadership?
I think a leader is someone who's been given a responsibility to help people.
I can tell you that I'm happy to get you whatever you were asking, Lance.
Oh, okay.
We'll network, I think your network is very bad there. Even what was my colleague was talking in Chanoda, I could not hear. Even your question I cannot hear. Maybe I can only contribute who is the youth in African politics. Who is the youth? 18 to 35. It is between those in our colleagues in the Western world. But to us, a youth goes up to 50. Like Chanoda Ngwira is not a youth. Me, I'm not a youth, but we represent the youths. We are in charge of the youths at the end of the day. So you find somebody who's got 18 years.
Okay.
Somebody who is, someone who is 18 years, 20 years to 24, 25, most of these people are still being kept. They're dependent. So it's some of them are still at school. So to participate in the leadership, few can going to find them in those positions. In terms of politics, in terms of leadership, most of them are young. But leadership is not only in politics, but at the church level, you find these young people guiding their fellow youths within the church, within their communities, in different ways. Where you have found difficulties, it is in politics. But in the influential position, you find that by the time you reach there, you have already fought your battles, you're not even identified. You come to be identified with
Okay, we still seem to be having internet challenges there. But Miss Auxiria, can you please come in? You were saying something, or you were defining leadership and the youth, and then we get to move on.
Okay, so I was saying leadership is when we say someone has been given a mandate to lead people, that person qualifies to be called a leader. And leadership is the act of leading people towards a certain goal. And when we talk about who a youth is, according to our constitution in Zambia, a youth is any person between the age of 18 to 35. So for me, that is what I would call a youth, and that is what I say leadership is. Thank you.
Okay, now leadership is said to be born with, and it's not something that one can learn. So if you want to, or if somebody is a leader, it must be an inborn thing. Somebody cannot be taught leadership, or somebody cannot have leadership qualities learned from another person, because that person will be actually depicting the other person's traits, who at that particular time is a leader and their mentor. What kind of leadership should exist in a person if they're to be considered as a leader? I will start with you, Mr. Banda.
To begin with, I believe that leadership is a skill with a certain skill set which is acquired along the developmental stages of every human being. And I believe that every person that is so interested and that can contribute or has an ability to give guidance to community, be it at school, in classes, there are prefects who are given a responsibility to guide the class in the absence of the leader. And in churches, there are leaders there are young people who are given a responsibility to guide certain departments of that particular church. And to standardize and say that leadership should be an inborn thing, and if they were not born leaders, they cannot be leaders, is a misdemeanor for me, because I believe that every human being at a certain age or certain age group in their lives have led in somewhat or another. And the difference is only that the stages of leadership are what are of that particular difference. So if we say that leaders should be inborn leaders, then you mean that everybody who's on a certain decision-making stage or position was a leader from the beginning to where they are there. So I don't believe that leadership should be classified as an inborn thing. Someone should be born a leader for them to be a leader. I don't believe that.
Mr. Ngwira, don't you really think if somebody gets to learn leadership qualities or styles from another person, they will not really be the leader that they are supposed to be, because they are learning from someone? It's like they are getting someone's traits and trying to put them into them, and then therefore practice leadership. Okay, it seems like network is really pulling off some strings. Maybe let's come to you, Auxiria. You know, like you said, in terms of what leadership is. Now, if you have a mentor or you have a teacher, somebody that is teaching you of how to be a leader, or maybe things, characteristics that makes a leader, are you telling me that you are going to be a full-time leader that you are supposed to be, and not try to copy or depict your mentor that has been teaching you leadership?
I think one thing that is prominent in leadership is you being aware of who you are. Self-awareness is something that you learn in leadership. And so by you being aware of who you are, it means you'll not be mimicking the other person, because immediately you start mimicking, you lose that role of leadership but become a follower. So when you grow into leadership, then you become your own person and is able to exhibit your own personality traits. You are able to act in your own manner and not really follow your mentor. Your mentor is there, yes, to direct you, but you're not supposed to now become the exact person that that mentor is. That is not their role, and that's not your role. That's my take. Thank you.
Okay, having defined what leadership is and having also defined who the youth is, comrades, I have a question which I would want us to react based on where we come from. Do you think, as the young people, I really don't want to dwell on the youth, because in our country, it really takes time for the youth to take a leadership, but I want to generalize young people. Now, do we think as the young generation, we are given enough space to take part in the key leadership positions in our political parties, in our community? Do you think we are given that good atmosphere for us to take up these key positions? And did you think our leaders are mentoring young people to take up positions? Over to you, Mr. Chanda, James Chanda.
James Banda.
Oh, sorry, apology.
Yes, I accept it. You rightly put it, and the question is very provoking. And it's provoking in the sense that young people or youth are supposed to create opportunities for themselves. In the first place, the mentality or the mindset that we need to be given an opportunity, we need to be given a chance, should be done away with. I'll give you an example of our freedom fighters others were in the 22s, the 18s, below 30s. Nobody gave them a chance to begin to be freedom fighters and fight for this country till independence, until they got those leadership positions, of which some of them did extremely well, despite the little education that they had. So young people must begin to take responsibility at a very young age, because no one will give them that chance to be leaders and take the leadership positions that they are dreaming of, so to say. So are we getting enough chances? No, that would be the answer there. No one is giving anyone a chance to get to leadership position or decision-making position. So the young people must reframe their mind and change the way we think and change the way they think about responsibilities, and then step up to the challenges that the country is facing.
Mr. Banda, just a follow-up question on that. As we talk about young people should step out, how do you expect the young person to step out? This is a young person who is given or who's been brought to the table, where you have this person who is financially strong and this young person is not even financially strong. How do you expect young people to have the space in such an environment?
Well, I believe that the number one capital for every human being, the youth, young people included, is their mind. I believe that when you begin to sell and work around the mindset and the ideas that you have, the issue of financial stability and the capacity, the financial capacity, is a non-starter in this incident. We have a lot of young people who have thrived, even where they come from, they have nothing, and they had nothing on the table to compete with the millions that a lot of elderly people brought on board. So we must begin to be positive. This mindset needs to be thinking positive, needs to be seeing opportunities, not to be seeing obstacles. We need to reframe the way our young people think and look at themselves. And
thank you so much, Mr. Banda. I'll come back to you. Mr. Liswaniso, do you think young people, we are given enough space in the political arena to take up the key or influential positions? What is your reaction? Mr. Liswaniso, do we have you? Have we lost him?
Thank you very much, moderator.
Okay. Please go ahead.
The circle, I can tell you that a lot of young people are participating. The young people themselves have been given responsibility to run this country. Not only in politics, but everywhere we go today are the young people running this country. You, the media itself, you are young people running these things. When you talk about in the politics, councillors, we have almost 1,642 councillors in the councils across the country. A lot of these are young people, all of them, youths.
All right, Mr. Liswaniso seems to have internet challenges. Perhaps, Ms. Mwanza, you can pick it up.
Thank you so much. If we were to have a honest conversation when it comes to having young people in key leadership positions, I think my answer would definitely be no. We do not have young people in key leadership positions per se in the political space. And I can qualify that by saying, when you look at the structure of our government today, there are very few positions that have been given to young people. And so that qualifies that we don't have that space to operate in key leadership positions. But yes, I don't want to say there are no young people in the government. Yes, they are there, but they are very few. But when you look at the number of people that make government, as well as when you look at the number of young people that we have in Zambia, according to the population, we're a majority. So if we were to say all things were fair, I would look at having 50% representation of young people in the political space. I would look at having 50% representation of young people owning businesses that are identified and that are thriving. But now, when we talk about mentorship, that the question she had spoken to earlier on, there is very little mentorship that is happening between people that are older, maybe leaders that are older than us, against this generation, the younger folk. And so I think the cry of young people has been, we want that to happen. We want to be given space. But the excuse has been, you lack the skills, you lack the experience. But if there's mentorship and then there's an opportunity where young people can enhance those skills, I think then we can say, yes, young people have been given spaces in the different sectors that we are looking at. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much. Let's get to hype it up a little bit. Many are times that we have heard politicians or these people in key leadership positions that are older than their generation make excuses to say that young people cannot be put in key leadership positions because they are flimsy, because they lack quality, because young people, they are still playful, young people, they lack knowledge or they lack experience for them to take up leadership positions. Is this, or can this be used as a yardstick for a young person not to be considered for a key position, either in government, in parliament, or in the civil society? I believe, Mr. Banda, you want to pick it up.
Well, yes, thank you very much. The issue of saying that young people are not ready and they are inexperienced is neither here nor there. I've already alluded to the fact that our forefathers who gave us this independence that we have now had no experience whatsoever. And they managed this country pretty well and well enough to create an environment for other young people to grow up to be responsible young people. Now, if these are our fathers or grandfathers are saying that our young people are irresponsible or are flimsy or they are lazy, it simply shows that they did not do their job properly in raising these young people, because a young person who's over 18 and should be able to know their responsibilities, what is right and what is wrong at that particular age, and be given a much larger responsibility in leading a society. It is all but an excuse that they put across to say young people cannot lead. Young people must lead. My colleague here, my fellow finalist, Mr. Liswaniso, spoke about the thousands of councillors who are young people. For me, my take is that the councillorship, the position of a councillor is that of an old person. It is not that of a young person. Young people should be MPs. Why am I saying young people should begin from MPs and those other positions? I'm saying that because when a young person is young, they are energetic, they are creative, their minds are active, and they are innovative. And that is the right time for that person to be leading a particular society or to be given a responsibility to make decisions. And as they go on, because you say, oh, they are not ready and blah, blah, blah. By the time that you give them a responsibility, they'll be old. They'll be in the age of retirement. At the end of the day, they won't want to relinquish those kind of positions because they just had them now. So we need to begin to give young people decision-making positions as they are young, because that's the time when their minds are innovative, not counselorship. Counselorship is for an old person who's retired and needs to see how else can they contribute to the community that they are living in.
All right, thank you so much. Comrade Auxiria, there is this notion to say that young people are destructive. They love partying. They are never serious with themselves, first of all. Then why should they be given key leadership roles or positions?
Thank you so much, comrade. I think that notion should be dealt with because it's not factual. It doesn't represent the majority of people that are out there, because I've seen a lot of young people that are working hard, that are leading different organizations, that are leading different businesses, and have been doing well in their leadership roles. That speaks of volume to say that young people are really ready for these roles. The challenge really becomes, what measure are we using to say the majority of young people are drinking? Or what measure are we going to use to say the majority of young people are taking up these responsibilities and are doing it effectively and are doing it rightly? So we don't have that. We don't have a database to say we have this number of young people. We don't have the statistics. But all we have is what we go by hearsay or what we have seen, which can be affected by maybe the area we are looking at in that particular time. So I think it's not supposed to be used as a measure to say most young people are drunkards or are party goers, because truth be told, we have so many young people in Zambia right now that are doing great things, but have not been given the platform or recognized or have visibility. Most of the media houses nowadays, when you are spreading issues about young people, it's in negative connotation. So I would really appreciate if also the media houses like yourself would also focus on the key stories of young people that are really doing well and begin to highlight those stories. Then we will know that really, by facts, we have a lot of young people that are capable of leadership and they can really do it. Thank you so much.
But young people are always seen, flaunting money. When they're in these leadership positions, they're always seen flaunting money. They're always seen, boasting. When they are when they're in these key positions, the only thing that they concentrate on is obviously competing with their fellow young people that are in leadership roles to say ndanaza denga kagero kamushe or ndanaza chitabwanji. This is what young people are really seen doing when given with this magnitude of power or of leadership. There is really nothing much that one can point at to say this is what the young people did. Instead, all that you see is chaos. How do you justify that? Before you, Mr. Banda, let me start with Auxiria. How do you justify that, to say young people, they are effective and do the right things, when most of the things that we have seen or that have been seen are of the negative?
Okay, thank you so much. I think there are so many young people who are doing great out there. I would give an example, a practical example. We have our councillor here in Kafue, Bumba. She's been doing great things, and I have never seen her flaunt money on her social media pages or act excited or go out partying. I will speak about the newly elected mayor of Chipata. He's a young person also, but I've never seen that. And so those are kind of examples of young people that are really doing great, but are not flaunting money, to so to say, or showing this lifestyle that they are not living. But now we live in an age also where our moral has really degraded. And so because of that, you find that most people tend to spread a lot of things that are false on social media, or what I would say are not morally upright. So you have young people show sums of money, or maybe show that they're partying with young girls. And because this is what the social media wants to spread, so they will take it up and everybody will be sharing that. But you have a young person doing really good works. For example, there's a lady who was just recently awarded for creating a spray for people who are asthmatic. But we don't have those stories being picked up and being spread, because this is what media wants to show. It's propaganda. It's the idea and the concept to show that young people cannot really be able to manage the leadership roles, or young people have this lifestyle, which is not true. Because contrary to that, there are so many stories that are positive about young people that are spread. And I hope that as Ubuntu TV media would be able to share those stories per se. And I hope even from this discussion today, moving forward, we'll start to share more positive stories about young people in leadership than the negative ones that we've seen. It's propaganda for me. Thank you.
Mr. Banda, you have a divergent view, or you agree with Ms. Mwanza?
Well, I want, because this particular topic is about young people in leadership positions. And for a long time, young people have been painted black. And they've been painted black to keep them where they are, and then not give them responsibilities that they deserve to have in this society. And I believe that a lot of young people have achieved a lot of great things. And it is not the older generation that has done much more great things than the older people. I'll give you an example of navigation of the past elections and the other elections that passed. Zambia is predominantly young, and young people have navigated this particular country responsibly for the past 3 consecutive elections, general elections. And for that, we must say kudos to the young people of Zambia for behaving responsibly and taking responsibility of their own country. So no one else out there can quantify and really standardize and say every young people in Zambia is reckless out of the few young people that are reckless. Anyway, the other thing that you've pointed out is they are seen flaunting money, and but let the young people flaunt money if they make that money with their hard end work. There is no law or rule or norm that refutes or that prohibits anyone from flaunting money. It's like the young people say, it ain't bragging if you can bag it up. You know, if a young people is flaunting money, it means that they are working hard and they are making that money and they are able to have that particular money. That is not a bad thing. What is a bad thing is using monies that you are given responsibility over and start flaunting it as your own money. That is negative, but that is a story for a next day. So young people are responsible enough, and they are supposed to be given and handed over that responsibility that they so deserve to have an opportunity to lead this energetic country called Zambia.
Mr. Banda, having alluded that young people have the capability, have the ability, have the skills to run the matters or affairs of the nation, do you think our current cabinet has embraced the young people?
Well, I would say I would have loved to have a lot of young people in that particular cabinet because young people played a very pivotal role in making sure that whatever they wanted happened, and during that time. And I don't think there is a lot or enough young people in that particular cabinet. And like I said before, the onus is up to young people, not to wait for them to be given responsibilities, but to take responsibilities and really show leadership as young as they are at whatever age, so that they get to those leadership positions.
But Mr. Ngwira, just hold on that. As much as young people would want to get to the table, if you are not invited to this table, how would you penetrate? Because you are saying it's the honor and the responsibility of young people to get to show responsibility so that they can be identified to those leadership positions. But if we are not invited, you're not invited to this table of leadership, what should a young person do? Believe me, there are a lot of things that needs to be done. As much as you may have the skill, the knowledge, but if you don't have the support and other supporting factors, you can't get to the table. Do you think a lot has been done in that area?
Well, one thing is very clear here. The way we are thinking around the young people and the way we are bringing up these young people, do we give them responsibilities at a tender age, beginning with the homes? Because they say charity begins at home. So if I am in a position, on a ministerial position or a position of a decision-making position, I can't give my children at home certain decision-making positions or opportunities. How am I going to give a young person an opportunity to lead or to guide the country? The young people have to take this as a challenge to them, or an opportunity to rise above the challenges that they are facing, which is including not being called to the table. Because at the end of the day, if we are not invited, create your own table to go to the highest level. We need to begin to think in those angles. Otherwise, we will sit down and fold our arms and still be pointing at the older generation to say they are not giving us opportunities. If they are not giving us opportunities, create the opportunities. Grab those opportunities by being innovative and surpassing all the stumbling blocks that they put across.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banda. Miss Mwanza, do you think it's easier for young people to penetrate to those key positions, especially in politics, coming from the youth movement? What is your take?
Thank you so much. I think it's not easy for young people to penetrate to key leadership positions without support of the government of the day or without support of the parties that they're coming from. From the just ended election, we had a lot of young people that vied for these positions and wanted to be elected in key positions. But those people were not put there. Most of them did not make it. And that is because the political environment that we have is not ready or suitable for young people. I think there are so many policies around how we are going to elect who into what role is limiting to young people. And so I think moving forward, maybe we should start working at putting in deliberate policies that will ensure that young people can have a certain percentage of representation in these structures. Just like we have women representation to be at a certain percentage, maybe we should also be fighting for youth representation to be at a certain percentage. And maybe then we would be speaking a different language. But as it is now, it's very difficult for young people to penetrate. The young people are willing to do that. They are willing to fight. In the just ended elections, we saw a lot of young people taking their stance and saying, we are going to vote for this, we are going to put more young people. But at the end of the day, there are certain policies or systems that were used that worked against them. And so we want to ensure that these systems are changed and young people can have access to get to these leadership roles. And even when they fight, their efforts are seen. It doesn't just come out as tokenism to say youth did this and so now as a thank you, maybe we'll give you this position, which is a position that you really don't deserve, but you are given, and so you work with it. I think moving forward, that will be my statement. Thank you.
Just to add on, Ms. Mwanza, on the if I may take you back, even when we talk about the past elections, most of the young people, they are being used in a negative way. Some are being used as tools of violence. Some are being used as sacrificial lambs, where, you know, like, let's talk of the issue of Lawrence. Those are young people who are being, for me, that is sacrificing. That is, I mean, a young person was sacrificed in such a way. So young people are being used as tools of violence, insults, even on social media. It's young people who are. Do you think that's another way of creating the space for young people in the political arena or in the issues of governance?
I would say, in a way, that's a way youths have seen fit or have found space, and so most of them have been running towards that, and have been using that as an opportunity to get recognition, and probably maybe they think, okay, if I do this, maybe when the government is put in place, then they would recognize me for my effort. Saying that, I'm not saying or supporting lawlessness from young people. I think young people also need to know that if we are to be considered to be serious, we need to talk politics that are clean, that are smarter than the politics that we've seen. And then we need to create our own space in a more positive and impactful manner. When we act in violence and whatnot, we get back to the same state where we are not recognized as people that are capable of leadership, but we are just used as vehicles to get from one spot to the next. And I think moving forward, for me, I believe young people are now ready, and they've seen that violence has not taken them anywhere. They've seen cadalism has not really worked. But now we are saying we also want to engage in smart politics. We want to take over spaces of dialogue. We want to talk to parliamentarians. We want to create our own spaces. And that's why you have different movements that are birthed, and you have different organizations that are speaking to this and deliberately are training young people to enable them to be leaders that will be able to take up the roles when the time comes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Mwanza. Mr. Banda, yes. What is your reaction?
Well, on two angles, young people, I still maintain, young people need to create a table, that table which will invite their elderly people to come and feed from. Young people must not look for a space on the elderly people's table, because the minute you start looking for space on the elderly people's table, you get conditions with it. You've spoken about violence and cadalism as young people being used. It is the young people who are using themselves. Why am I saying that? Because every young person who is involved has a decision to make, whether to involve in there or not. They have free will. You know what I'm saying? So it is the issue of grabbing the mantle of responsibility for every young people out there to take responsibility of their own actions. Those who go and do as they are told or as they are asked to do by elderly people are doing it with their own free will, because they are trying to hide away from or run away from responsibility. At the end of the day, when they are queried, they will say, and the blame will fall on the elderly people. I still go back to young people and urging the young people to take responsibility of everything that is going on in their lives and everything that is going on in their country, for this country to be a productive country. we will not create a productive country if we start thinking of affirmative action to promote young people into certain decision making positions. Because at the end of the day, where is the will that the young people have, which is supposed to be positive and supposed to drive our country forth with economic development of unprecedented levels? I believe that we must now give a responsibility to young people to say, you are responsible of your own actions. Let your actions be of your own. Your actions cannot be transferred to the next person because you are seeking for approval from the so-called people who have those statuses to make decisions for you to go and join them up there. Obviously, when they approve of you, just let me finish the point. When they approve of you after you act, it simply means that even when you're on the table and you're sharing that particular table with them, you are going to do as you are told. So it is incumbent upon the young people to be innovative, create their own tables, and let the elderly people invite them on the same level of understanding things and responsibilities.
Mr. Banda, if we look from before independence, it's actually the majority of young people who fought for independence, the Super Ks, the Venom Mwangas, but at that particular time, young people, if we can take the example of VJ, I think there was somebody who was mentoring him, you know. Don't you think these young people, they need to be mentored at a certain point? They need somebody to guide them. Because even when we follow in the Bible, the issue of Timothy was being mentored by Paul. So don't you think at a certain point, somebody has to mentor you? Somebody has to be there for these young people to give them a stepping stone. And I think young people, the stepping stone they've been given is that of violence. What is your reaction?
Well, the stepping stone given to young people, like I said, if you're going to be a leader, you need to be a responsible leader in the first place. If you aspire to be a leader, you cannot go in the violent way and begin to think that you will be a leader like that. And coming back to the issue of mentorship, mentorship is incumbent upon the decision that the young person makes to say, okay, I think I need a mentor. And there are a lot of mentors who are out there and who are not in the political atmosphere, and they are not operating within the political arena, but they are leaders in whatever positions that they are in there. You see, we seem to mistake leadership as to be a political leadership. Leadership is in all categories and all areas of society, and it is from there that we can mentor our young people into decision-making positions, even into the political arena. They can begin as from churches, they are leaders, from schools, they are leaders, and they can begin to graduate from there to different positions. And yes, it is imperative that young people are mentored, and they must be mentored by not only political leaders or the so-called political leaders, because at the end of the day, some of them just found themselves on political platforms. Politics is just a platform of leadership. So there are leaders in every platform of leadership where these young people can get that so much needed mentorship from, apart from the violence platform that they have been that has been dished on, because the young people had to bite that particular hook that they were the carrot that they were showed.
All right, that is an interesting debate and points coming through from the panelists there. Just a reminder, among the panelists, we have James Banda, who is a child, the word has gone, but Nkhani Zanga, director Yeah, that one is very easy. And then also we have Auxiria Mwanza, who is the Secretary General for Generation Lead Zambia. Now, this is Ubuntu Debates. It's a first program. This is the debut of this program. And today we are discussing youth participation in key leadership positions or roles. And so many great points have been made on this program. If you would love to make yours, make sure that you come through. We have shared the link with you in the comments box. When you come through, be brief, be short, so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. And then if you have a question, you can get to ask your question. If it's a comment, you can get to comment. This time around, before I get back to the panelists, let's get to go through a few messages that have come in, and then let's see if we have also questions in the messages which maybe the panelists can be able to react to. Director, let's get to see messages that have come in. All right, so yeah, so you can make your submission via the link that which we have shared for you in the comments box, either on YouTube, on Twitter, as well as on Facebook. Tell us where you are watching us from. As we wait for the messages to come through, I would want to come, okay, Chavala Walia says, following. Chavala, thank you so much. Good to know you are following. King Chelo following from Pika. Thank you, King, for following as well. Justin, we are not getting chances as youths. Okay, interesting input from Justin there. Destiny says, who are those youths? Okay, not so sure. UPND is a failed party. This is Destiny. Okay, I'm sure that was going to Comrade Liswaniso. So, as we maybe wait for one or two people to come through into the studio. Okay, Junior Case says young people fought for independence and liberated Zambia from colonialism. Young people will liberate this country from a failed pre-independence generation leadership going forward. The idea that young people are a disaster is being peddled by the veteran pre-independence politicians who want to hold on to power. Very interesting there, BK. Thank you so much for your contribution. Ivan says time for post-independence generation to take over leadership has never been this ripe in the history of Zambia. Push on, patriots. All right, thank you so much, Evans. Do we have any more? Okay, great. Powerful discussion, Brother Paul Mumba. Thank you, Brother Paul. Hambani Mbale says Red Linso Ndwe Chikali. All right. Okay. Manzalibe Isa says watching you from Saudi Arabia. All right. Good to know that Saudi Arabia is tuned in. I wanted to greet you in Arabic, but I don't want to surprise my panelists, yet lest they can say I'm not Zambian. But however, let's get to move on with the program as we're in the dying minutes of the program. Comrade Auxiria, I would want to bring you back to a point that Himba made, but bringing it in this way. Youths have been made to fight one another, not through political violence, not through whatever that happens in politics. How have they been made to fight one another? So what happens when this youth is given a leadership position, key leadership position in government or wherever that they are given? They go there and instead of championing what they were fighting for when they were in a movement for youth-led organizations, they change their tone. They join the same old people in government and move on with a status quo. You try to bring them back in line, they will tell you, how safe do you think you are if many youths are in these key leadership positions?
Thank you so much. I want to. Okay. I want to say the biggest challenge that young people are facing now when they get to those positions is that they're a minority. So because they're a minority, their voice is really stamped on. And sometimes, many are the times that we've heard these young people being threatened and being told all sorts of things. And because, at the end of the day, a human mind, it's either you fight or you flee, you run. And so they run and hide and say, okay, I'll just do what everybody else wants me to do. Because they know at the end of the day, even if they speak out to those issues, it's one single voice and there will be no support from the other team. So to save face and to hold on to the little power, because we want them to hold on to the power.
In this instance, Comrade Auxiria, it's the other way around. This youth or this particular young person gets swallowed up in the system that they found, which they were fighting so hard before getting that position. They get into that position and they get swallowed up, not even speaking. They don't even have that chance of wanting to speak, because after getting into the system, they understand how the system works and they start preaching. They're the ones who even start preaching. The system is just fine. When we were fighting it out of knowledge.
I think then that's an unfortunate case, because I strongly believe for independence to take place, there were young people that stood up. And if you've seen the history of Zambia, for every change that has happened, there are young people that have stood up and spoken against certain things. So if you're a young person and you're swallowed up by the system, and then you become comfortable and say, I am not going to play my role that I was speaking to, then it's unfortunate. But I do understand, and I strongly believe that there are young people out there, and if given a chance to work in these positions, would be able to stand to what they believe in and will change. And so moving forward in the nearest future, I want to see a government that is led by young people, that is filled with young people. And then, probably then, after we experience that, we'll be able to say young people are unable to handle or manage leadership or government because they failed. But without having that taking place, our basis of this argument really does not stand. It's not there, because they've not had that privilege. They've not had that opportunity. So even as we speak based on just a few examples that we can cite, and I think it's unfair. So in all fairness, we want to see young people in those leadership roles and see them in majority and see if they would change. Thank you so much.
Comrade Banda, I have heard different sentiments coming from different people to say youths are a time bomb. Therefore, when you put them in these key leadership positions, even the decisions they make, you will be able to see that this guy is just an amateur. It's a time bomb. Anytime it's going to explode.
Wait, let's look at this in this context. These youths that have been given positions and they are not showing responsibility, where did they come from? How did they ascend to where they are? That would be a question. And to generalize that youth are a time bomb is a bit harsh on the young people of Zambia, because there is a very big example that I gave to say that Zambia was led by young people from 1964 up to somewhere 1980 somewhere, where these young people grew up. Now they became adults. And they ran this country responsibly enough. And they liberated the entire Southern and Central Africa from colonialism. And those were youth, those were young people. And for us to begin to come here and start saying that youth in Zambia or young people in Zambia are irresponsible is a fallacy for me. And I think it's a propaganda to agree with Auxiria to keep young people below the older generation. I believe that there are a lot of responsible young people who can do much greater and produce much greater results for our particular country and the development of this society, which we, to tell you the truth, we need a lot of development in this country. Yes, there are young people who've been put up there and they've forgotten, they've been swallowed by the system. And then the question that I asked in the beginning, is it that where did these people come from for them to excel and get to the levels where they are? First of all, if they were responsible and if they were mentored and if they were given the right direction or the direction which they took for them to get there was that of responsibility, they would not get swallowed by the system. Or maybe could it be that they gotten excited when they got there and forgotten about this? So I'll give you an example of our many young people who are in parliament. And something that they must do and something that they must do for the future now is advocating on the child bill code, which they have not, no one is talking about, not even the so-called young leaders who are there are talking about. That is lack of a sense of responsibility when you don't stand your grounds to that which you are principled to do. The mentorship aspect of the youth instills a sense of principles in this particular youth if they were to be mentored by a certain caliber of leaders, not in the political arena, because that is not the only place where you can find leaders. So we need to begin to search and free ourselves from the way we think within the box to say that only in politics can we bring up good leaders. No.
All right. So
I believe.
All right. So time is never really our best ally. But before going, maybe let's go in this way a little bit, and then I'll allow Himba to come in. Apparently, she also has at least one or two questions for the panelists. If we were to have if we were to compel the government to make sure that either in cabinet or in parliament, there should be at least quite a good number of representation of the young people, don't you think the best way to go is for constitution or law reforms, which should be drafted in a deliberate manner to see to it that at least parliament representation or cabinet representation, there should be 50% of young people that are appointed in those positions? Or if not so, we have the NYDC Act, which is the National Youth Development Committee Act, which was enacted in 1870 something, if I'm not mistaken. This is a colonial act which gives one person superiority power to select who should be in a committee for this Ministry of Youth and Development. So shouldn't we start with law reforms if we are to see quite a number of young people to take part in leadership roles and positions?
Do I answer that? Okay. Well, one thing is very clear here. There is a lot that needs to be done to create a sense of responsibility and to create young people who will be productive and who will take the responsibility of developing this country forth. And one of the ways that we can do that before we can even go to reforms, have we looked at how our education system is, that is coming from our home setup to the education system, academic education system. So if you look at our academic education system and our home setups now, what are the norms that we believe in as a people? Who is a Zambian, if I was to ask such a question? And how many young people would answer to say a Zambian is so and so and so? What is it that Zambia stands for? And what is it that as Zambians we believe in? What are our principles as Zambians? What has our education system, our academic education system taught us as Zambian people and as young people? You know, when you answer those particular questions, you will then be given a direction to say, this is the direction that we must go in order to produce principled young Zambian people, and young Zambians who can produce amazing works and amazing results and perform highly and have a caliber of international level to be able to lead this particular society. The law reforms, yes, law reforms will be put in place. But if we do not do our homework right and correctly, you will have the law reforms, you will have a certain percentage of young people enshrined to say we need these particular people to be in that particular in parliament, in decision-making positions. Yet again, will they have the caliber to do that particular job that they are given to do? So that's a question. So like I keep saying, the onus is up to the young people, you know, to create platforms, to exhibit their leadership skills, to exhibit their abilities to lead this particular country into the next generation, which I believe should be a great generation to produce massive development for this particular country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banda. Apparently, this question was not really meant for you, but what can I do? I have you. I have to use you. I just want to hear your reaction as a youth leader, as a youth worker. I would love to hear your reaction on this one. Mr. Banda, the president has a privilege of appointing 8 ministers. Okay, I wouldn't really talk about the members of parliament because those are voted in by the public, but he's got the privilege of appointing 8 ministers. How will it be if he would appoint 1 minister from the youth movement? I would love to hear your reaction.
Did you get the question, Mr. Banda?
I didn't get the question. I kind of, it was breaking, so it wasn't a bit clear. Could you kindly repeat that?
Okay. My question was, I would love to get a comment on this one anyway. We've got, the president has the privilege of appointing 8 ministers, is it? He have members of parliament and whom he can still appoint as ministers. How will it be if you would appoint 1 person just to represent the youth sector as a member of parliament and appoint that person as a youth, as a minister? What is your reaction on that?
Well, yes, rightly so. And we have a lot of young people we can call youth in parliament who are sitting area members of parliament who can be appointed to be ministers in ministries of youth and child development, or as it has changed now. I don't know exactly what it's called, but to just appoint for the sake of appointing and for the sake of having a number of young people in decision making would not sit well with me, because at the end of the day, that caliber has to be there. Vijay Mwanga had the caliber to be an ambassador, a diplomat. The late Rupia Banda had the caliber to be a diplomat when they were sent to the diplomatic corps. We need to have young people of high caliber. Even when you sit with them, when you speak with them, what comes out of them is of high caliber. And they are those young people who are not in the political arena who can be appointed to such positions. But however, because the political platform favors those that are in the political arena and in the political arena to get such positions. And I think it is incumbent also to the leaders who are there now to look for those leaders outside their political realm, just like they do in football. A national team, yes, there are those who are local, but there are those who are playing professional, and they come to play for the country. So what am I saying? Look away from, search out of the box, which is the political arena for young people who can deliver for this particular, for this country, and deliver well enough and represent us as Zambia with the highest caliber that we deserve to be represented with.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Banda. Last, before we go, do we have any comments?
Yeah, I think we have, we can read at least 3 messages coming through from the people. So Chisenga says, never again shall we allow pre-independence agents of imperialism to rule Zambia. Zambia shall going forward be ruled by us, the post-independence generation. Zambia shall never be a colony again. As generation take over, we solemnly swear to fight imperialism and its offshoots of white-collar crimes and political businesses. We have a Zambia to serve. All right, Senga, thank you so much for your comment. Okay, we've read. So, Wellen says, UPND government is doing what it takes to make Zambians get liberated from poverty. CDF is offering opportunity for young people to prove their abilities and adequacy in their leadership, and offering opportunity and skills rather. Let the young people apply for the CDF for their anticipated businesses. You cannot all be in political office. Many political positions require experiences. You have to start somewhere before you assume the higher office. Okay, if we have one last message that we can read. So King Chelo says there is still a problem of if seniors continue to look upon the youth as incompetent and inexperienced. All right, thank you so much. That's a wrap. Comrade Auxiria, welcome back, though I'll give each at least 30 seconds to say our bye-byes as we are beyond time. I'll start with you, Comrade Auxiria. Okay, seems like network isn't our best ally today. Comrade Banda, let's go with you.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to interact with young people out there. And thank you to Ubuntu channel for that initiative and innovation, and make sure that our young people get to understand who they are and get to understand what is expected of them, and drive this and lead this country to greatness. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banda, and we look forward to hosting you again as we come and talk about Nkhani Zanga, what it's all about, and obviously get to understand its core functions and mandate, plus, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm a phone call away.
All right, thank you. All right, so this is where we get to end today's edition of Ubuntu Debate. Remember, this is the debut of this particular program on a Tuesday at 21 hours. Now, we hope that we'll be hosting these debates on Tuesdays. However, as Ubuntu channel, we'll be sharing with you when we have these programs who our guests are. And speaking of that, allow me to apologize for the dropouts of our guests. Internet today hasn't really been our best ally. However, we look forward to hosting them again or bringing them back so that they can get to stress their different points and talk about issues that affect the nation and those that affect the youths out there. All right, so I've been your host, Lance Banda, together with Himba Malambo. But hey, don't forget, tomorrow is Wednesday. And Wednesdays, we have Meet Your Leaders at 21 hours right here. Tomorrow, we have local government minister or PS. We have local government minister on the program as we come and get to talk about different things that are happening at the Ministry of Local Government and urban rural development right there. So we'll be here again, but don't forget to like, share, and always leave a comment whenever that we are live so that you get to join the great big family of Ubuntu channel. Remember that we are, or I am because we are, or you are because we are. Definitely good evening. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you so much for being part of the program.